It has been one of those weeks. Uh, on the hair front, you will see that I am still blue, which people go, oh, that's so interesting. So we're hoping it lightens up. Otherwise, I shall be spending money and having it redone. So the happy news is that for those of you who knew that my mum was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few months ago, she was in Johannesburg for the last week, and it turns out that she was misdiagnosed. She had had a very minor stroke in a place which I think is called her basal ganglia. But the great news is that it is treatable, and if she is good with her rehab, fully reversible. And I know you're going to think I'm possibly the world's best daughter when you hear that I made her weed the garden. Oops. For the full time she was here purely for rehabilitation purposes. I was a little grumpy that she left before my full garden, which you should know is huge, was fully weeded. So on the one hand, like super happy, super relieved, and I can only guess how wonderful it must be if you have been told you have this degenerative, awful disease that's going to make you die a dreadful, undignified death, to be told, actually, you don't. And you have something that's very treatable. And actually, I think Mum was quite excited to get going with rehabilitation. So that's lovely, lovely news. And it has also been one of those news where you want to just find somebody who's got a pair of bowl clippers so that they can undo that band of steel that has wrapped itself around your chest. So earlier in the week, I got any mother who, well, maybe not, some mothers who have children in high school will at some point have got that call. And what happened this week is Chris, who has moved into that anger part of the grieving process, apparently lost it at school multiple times on one day. So that was a wonderful time of like emergency psychiatrist appointments and chasing some medication. But it also made me realize that in life there are kids, the angels. So let me explain. So this related to a project that the kids had to do at school as a group, and I'm sure part of it was kind of group dynamics learning. But there were two kids who my friend is a teacher at the school said to me, oh, Chris is so lucky to be in a group with them. They are angels. And then over the course of the week, these kids failed to do any of the things that they had said they did, very articulately laid blame at Chris's door, not necessarily unreasonably, because he was being difficult. And then once I had that call, did not actually pitch for the session that I had sort of been gently suggested that I should ensure Christopher arrived at out of school hours. I did have a little chuckle to myself because the kids didn't know that the teacher himself would actually be there, so they got caught out. But it made me think about being that kid. So here's the thing. Josh was one of those angels. Josh's great skill in life was he understood the system. Let me give you an example. On his first English lesson in grade 8, he discovered that his English teacher was a cat fanatic. What does he do? At the end of the lesson, he goes and tells her that he has a cat, pulls out his phone and shows her pictures of Olivia. How's it, Ev? Joshie, and of course, then from that moment on, Joshie was an angel. And Joshie was not always an angel, although we would like to imagine that he always was. He wasn't. But Josh had this amazing skill of presenting himself to people who had power in his life as the angel. Chris, like his mother, is that child. So I remember clearly, hey Mandia, it's so good to see you. I loved your picture of leggings this morning. Thank you. I don't know whether I think that person is really cool or really weird, but who am I to comment, right? But I was that kid. So I actually was a pretty well-behaved kid during school. I mean, aside from the drinking gin on the golf course, which is a whole other story. But I was that kid. If I did something wrong, I always got busted. Always. And unfortunately for Chris, he is one of those kids who does not get systems. So if the only thing he's really good at not getting busted for is skipping homework, which now his mother, unbeknownst to him actually, spent yesterday emailing all of his teachers and making a lovely little list of all the homework that he has not done so far this year. So he's going to have such a fun weekend. But Chris is that kid too. So if he does a thing wrong, boy, is he going to get caught. And I am absolutely no different. You know, the one time I do something bad, like that's the time I get busted. It's like why I still believe like the coaching police and everyone's going to come get me, because like I do something wrong and I know you're going to find out. So anyway, that is me for the week. It's why I've been a little quiet. How's it, Mandy? It's so good to see you. I was talking this morning with somebody who is writing a book about endurance riding, and it made me think lovingly of all my wonderful horsey friends in the UK. So that is why I've been a little bit quiet this week on the Facebook Lives. But unfortunately, because I had all this kind of drama, and also because Mother and I were too busy celebrating, and by celebrating I mean I was sitting inside reading books and she was outside reading for rehabilitation. But Mother and I have come up. I've just got to turn my camera a little bit so you can see. So you can see, yeah, it's live, Mandy. Oh, and I've left in my email on. I hope nobody sends me something embarrassing. So you will have noticed that as you get older, and particularly if you've lost weight as an older woman, you get this gizzard, right? So sort of every November, Mother and I have to hide from Americans and Canadians in case they try to slaughter us and eat us for Thanksgiving. Mother and I came up with a solution for it, and I really, really wanted to film it whilst Mum was here, but I honestly felt that her rehabilitation and reading in my garden was more important. But I will next week, I promise, demonstrate our new solution. It will involve surgery, I'm afraid, but not the kind of, probably not the ones that you're used to. I keep trying to pull it up, but I think I'd look quite weird if I did that, don't you? I think it's weird. Or even this, you know. I have a friend who's like in her 20s and her mother's like, it's never too early to start Botox, dear. So that is what we'll be doing next year. We will also, next week, we will also be talking about, I don't know what it's called. I will go and Google it beforehand, but support underwear, and also my disappointment with crotchless panties. And also, I've got so many cool things lined up for you. I've just been feeling like an annoyed mother all week. And when I mean an annoyed mother all week, I mean wondering if I could get the doctors to give me better tranquilizers. And also my disappointment with the whole world of panty liners. So we have lots and lots of fun things, which I hope will make you happy. I had a small strategy session with a friend of mine who is a personal branding expert, who suggested that we didn't talk about crotchless panties and panty liners when I am on LinkedIn. So I've started posting things on LinkedIn, but obviously they have to be a bit more serious. But I said to her, I think talking about crotchless panties and panty liners and the gizzard solution probably makes people happy, and that's the point of my whole being at the moment, is how do we get happier. So you can look forward to that coming up in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, this afternoon it is Flash Friday, so this afternoon I'll also be posting a little memoir piece from when I was at my very first boarding school, which wasn't actually Gordonstoun. It was a place called St Hilda's. And it is the tale of the handkerchief. And I'm not going to tell you any more until you read it this afternoon. I'll see you next week.